Growing up, I never really knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. Things changed when I did my internship at my high school. To be surrounded in a love so pure was overwhelming. Special needs children are a gift from heaven. I've never been so inspired by a love so pure and someone so innocent and overlooked for their true potential. When it comes to their funding, without a doubt, they should be given a fair chance like the rest of our children, but they're not. I look at these children as my inspiration and my drive to do better. They're no different from you and I. These children are constantly faced with stereotypes, but unpronounced are doing the unimaginable. It takes a village to cater to a child with disability and also development issues. And with that being said, these children are constantly faced with those issues and are not being able to get the proper help for that. However, there are times where the needs are unmet, not only by the parent but also the community. There is indeed a center out there where they're changing the lives of families faced with the disabilities, whose needs are met one step at a time. What center am I referring to? I'm referring to a nonprofit establishment called Atlanta Alliance on Development Disabilities. AADD assists living with developmental disabilities to live, attend school, work, socialize, and break down the barriers they're faced with every day. We all have or will at one point in our life come in contact with someone who is faced with developmental disabilities. Millions of questions run through our mind. How do their families cope with this issue? Will they have a future outside of high school? How will they make it out in the real world? Who will pave the way for them? Well, this is done and lie in the walls of the Atlanta Alliance Development Disabilities. Well, lo and behold, I have the pleasure of being exposed to a center that'll put your mind at ease to all the questions that you may have. Today, I will brief you on the problems that exist and were the sole purpose behind the creation of this organization. Then I will give you a rundown about AADD and why it's so crucial to keep this establishment up and running. Finally, I will show you the ropes on how to become a positive enforcement behind the success of these children and also adolescents. Now that I've told you what we're going to talk about, let's get started with, why we need this organization. As I stated about, as stated in All About Development of Disabilities, people with disabilities are the nation's largest minority and the only one of the people that join any time. I know you're probably wondering, how does this pertain to your life? Well, let's take a further look into this. In 2010, the Disability Diversity reported an article stating people with disabilities cross all racial, gender, educational, and organizational lines. Discussions regarding diversity often focus on gender and race. This article speaks volume with the problem we as Americans are faced with dealing with developmental challenges. Studies show that in 2010, the Disability Diversity reported an article saying people with disabilities across all races, gender, economics, disregarding diversity has often focused on gender and race. If this doesn't open your eyes to the problem at hand, I don't know what else to say. We're born with ambition to be successful in all that we do. As parents, you want the best for your child, no matter what obstacles they may be faced with in life. Now let's talk about AADD and why it plays such a vital role in the way we handle people that are faced with developmental disabilities. AADD strives to be a good in the 21st century. As stated on their website, AADD believes in empowering families living with developmental disabilities to make informed choices and help them build their strengths to seek opportunities, resources, and services. We provide family support services, public policy, advocacy, and community engagement programs, which is very beneficial for the community to come together as one. Now let's state the obvious. Children with developmental issues receive the short end of the stick. In all fairness, these children should be given a fair chance like the rest of us. Our former president, Clinton, made a good point. He stated that the overlooking of the funding behind children with disabilities, as stated in his speech, Clinton mentioned lowball. Lowball, he said. Lowball pertaining to the special education, not because he didn't want it to be increased, but because he knew the Republicans would increase it without having to ask. Now, why is it that the president states that and it's not being done? Finally, I'll show you how a small contribution can make a huge impact on a family who battles with developmental disabilities. AADD was founded in 1951 by a group of parents seeking educational opportunities for their children and their disabilities. This goes to show you that a lot can change in 50 years. Since the founding of this organization, they have been able to help hundreds of families overcome their obstacles. Imagine being a mother who's deaf but have a family of four to provide on a fixed income. Many families with disabilities receive a small check every month, but money doesn't teach you how to make it in the real world. AADD gives families the fundamentals they need to make it, whether it's financial advisor, tutor for the children, networking for a job, down to funds and housing. It seems a society with everything mapped out on the way to expect it to be. Bottom line, we need assistance from the people like you to be a driving force in an organization that one needs to do most. AADD is one of the longest serving organizations in the metro Atlanta, Georgia. You just learned about how AADD plays a part in your community, and now it's time for you to play a part in paving the way for somebody's future. So the ball is in your court. Will you be the change for the next family? AADD will always be the assets individuals living with developmental disabilities live, attend school, work, socialize, and break down the barriers. In order to see change, you have to be the change.